Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah. If you're new here, make sure you go down below and introduce yourself in the comment section and subscribe to this channel before you leave. Now, I'm going to be starting a series here on my channel, kind of like a how-to series, teaching people application tips and all that jazz. It's been pretty requested, so the first video that I wanted to do, and people actually asked for it anyway to be first up, is how to get a flawless base, like your flawless foundation, which would include like covering your dark spots under your eyes. So let's get right into the video. First thing you want to do is cleanse your skin and moisturize it. So usually I use a gel moisturizer for the daytime, and then at night I use a cream, but I always use a gel before I put on my makeup because it's water based, so it's not going to be too heavy and it's going to be a little thinner and it's going to sink into the skin a lot faster. So I always start with that. The next thing you want to do is prime your skin. Now, not everybody is going to use the same primer because the primer that you use is going to be based off of any skin concerns that you have. If you have dry skin, you're going to want a hydrating primer. If you have oily skin, you're going to want a mattifying primer. And then, of course, there's a million in-betweens. So, like, for instance, I typically use two primers. I will go in with a pore-filling primer and then a mattifying primer. Usually I use my Tarte Clean Slate Timeless Smoothing Primer. I really love this. It really fills in the pores. I hear that L'Oreal has a dupe. I have not tried it yet. I do want to get it and I want to see. And I kind of want to battle them out and see if they're the same. But this has a very unique texture. So we'll see. I'd be very surprised to find that there is a dupe. One of my favorite mattifying primers is the Sephora Mattifying H2O Gel Primer. And e.l.f. has a nice one too. This one doesn't have the name on the packaging, but I know it's like the Hydrating Mattifying Primer. I know it doesn't really make any sense, but that's what it's called. So I really like these guys. Today I'm probably going to use the Sephora one with my Tarte one. This is about, I think this was $14.99. The e.l.f. one I believe is about $8. And I know One Heck of a Blot has one too. Or I'm sorry, it's called One Heck of a Blot, I think, and it's by Soap and Glory. You can get that at Ulta or Target or online. So if you have larger pores or scars on your face like I do, you want to go in with your pore filling primer. I'm going to throw on my headband because it keeps like the little tiny hairs out of my face. Excuse my hair today. I have a 2-year-old girl, and when you have toddlers, your hair is not always your hair. Sometimes it's their hair. So, my hair matches a child today. That's fine. Anyway. So, if you're going to go in with a pore filling primer, don't go in too heavy or it will ball up on your skin. And if you move it around too much, it's going to ball up on your skin. So, you want to go in sparingly and just fill in your concerns. I always do my nose. And this will help mattify too, this certain product, this particular one. There are some that's like more silicone-like and really slick, and those I don't find to really mattify me. I know everyone swears by the Smashbox Photo Focus or whatever primer. It's real silicone-y. It is nice, but there are too many dupes for that at the drugstore for me to pay $30-some for it. So I would go drugstore on that one for sure. LA Girl even has one like just like it. So, which I think was like $5. So you definitely don't have to spend a ton of money there either. And for the other places on my skin that I need primed, I'll use my Sephora one. This is like the weirdest consistency. I got the Laura Mercier, I think it was the Laura Mercier, or was it the Becca? I think it's the Becca. I got the mattifying one by Becca, and that thing is a little too mattifying. I need to try it again, because I felt like I didn't like it, but I think I just need to keep trying it. And for what I paid for it, I'm really hoping I decide that I love it, because it wasn't cheap. When you're putting on your primer, I highly suggest that you just kind of like pat it in. I wouldn't like, you know, do this number too much, swipe too much, because it's going to move things around. So if you can avoid that, I would. Okay, so for your foundation, you can either apply with, I don't suggest your fingers. I know a lot of people would rather use their fingers, and you can if that's your preference, but I would suggest either a sponge or a brush. Now, as far as the brush goes, I suggest either the Sigma F80, which is a flat top kabuki brush. This is really good for applying foundation. I love this one. Or the Morphe M439. This is like a round top kabuki brush, if that makes sense. The only thing about the Morphe one that I'm not that crazy about is, I think because since it's such a wide handle, that after a while it gets a little loose. I like Morphe brushes. Their M line and some of their cheaper lines aren't the greatest, but I think they're worth their money. I will tell you that now. This feels loose, but it's never broken on me. I've only had one or two brushes that I've ever really had any shedding, and it wasn't a big deal. It was just a few pieces out. So I know you probably hear a lot of controversy online about them. I'm not sure what that's about. I can't speak for anybody else's experience but my own. So I do like this brush. I don't use it all that much anymore just because I really fell in love with my Sigma brush. But this is a lot more pricey than this one. e.l.f. also has a nice brush too. I don't know what this is called, but it looks kind of similar to this. It's like a round top one, but it's not as dense as this. But this works really nicely too, and this is probably even cheaper than the Morphe one. Those are some really great options. But I prefer a sponge. Now, a lot of people still use the Beauty Blender, which is a really great sponge, but that's going to cost you about $20. I know Real Techniques has a sponge. It's not a bad sponge. It's not my favorite. I don't like it and I don't use it. So there's also the L'Oreal sponge. The pink one is amazing. I love that one. It's like a pink purple color. That one's really, really nice. I love that one. And it's about $7. But my favorite one is by EcoTools. And I get mine off of Ulta's website because it comes in a single pack. If you grab it at Walmart or offline, I think it comes with a mini one with it, and I just didn't have a use for it. So I get the single one, and this is about $5. So I highly, highly recommend this one. I highly recommend this one. So I'm going to use this today. I recommend spraying your sponge before you get started, even though it's already damp. Whenever you get a beauty sponge, you should get it under the water, do this situation a few times, wring it out good, and then use it. You want to use these damp. That's the magic of them. I really love using a sponge. Today, I'm going to use my Sonia Kashuk Soft Focus foundation just because it's right in front of me. I really do like this foundation. You can get this at Target. I get it off their website because they have more color selection there. But this is about $12, I think, anywhere between $10 and $12. And I really, really, really like it. And I don't think it's too mattifying. So I think it's good for a lot of different skin types. So, before you get started, if you have any hyperpigmentation or really dark circles or dark spots or discolorations, then you're going to want to color correct. I can do that in another video. I don't have any of my color correcting products, so I'm not really going to get into that today. That's like a whole nother situation. So we're going to go in with our foundation, and you just kind of want to go in with a little bit of product at a time. If you go in with too much product, it's going to be hard to blend it out to where you want it to be. You can get a nice full coverage foundation without using a ton of product, which is not going to be flattering on your skin. If you go in with too much product, it's going to show. People are going to see all that product, and it's not going to look like your skin. So I suggest going in with a little bit at a time. If you have trouble areas like I do, like in here, I have rosacea, so it's a little more red than the rest of my face. I just put a little bit more product there than I do other places on my face. I always suggest going up into your hairline, on your ears, down your neck, That way there isn't like a clear separation. I am so pale that if I don't hit my hairline, it looks kind of funny. So you can also fix that with like an eyeshadow. You can take an eyeshadow to your hairline. That helps a lot too. Okay, so now is when you can go in with concealer to cover your dark circles under your eyes. For concealer today, I'm going to go in with my Tarte Shape Tape, just because this is pretty much the most full coverage, best concealer I've found. It works really great. It always takes care of any of my problems. I don't have to use a whole lot of it. If you have very, very dark circles, you may need to use a little more than I do. And then you're going to blend that out with the same beauty sponge if you're using a beauty sponge. If you used a brush, you could probably still get away with using that brush. But I would highly recommend for under the eye to switch to a sponge. It's more delicate, and that area of your face is so fine and fragile that you want to be as gentle with it as possible. So I would definitely recommend a beauty sponge for under your eyes. I never have issues with this concealer creasing up or anything. If you want to add some brightness under your eyes, I suggest going a shade or two lighter than your natural skin tone, which is what I do. I use shade Fair, and in my foundation, I use the shade Bisque. So for foundation, I use Bisque, and for concealer, I use Fair and these particular products. And as you can see, under my eyes is a lot brighter than the rest of my face. Now, it may look a little too bright right now, but once the rest of my face makeup was on, bronzer, contour, whatever I was using, it would be fine. I also typically highlight the rest of my face. I will go in here, my nose, and my chin a little bit, sometimes my upper lip. So you can always do that. Inside your face, you have a few options. You can go with a loose powder, such as this one, which is the Laura Mercier powder. Or you can go in with a pressed powder. This is the Rimmel Stay Matte. This is a really good pressed powder. I love my Charlotte Tilbury powder. This is the Airbrush Flawless Finish Skin Perfecting Micro Powder. That is a lot to say. I use the shade 1 Fair in this powder, and I use Translucent in the Rimmel. So, and then of course there's a million other options. For loose powders at the drugstore, I do not suggest any HD powder, just because it's going to leave a white cast on your face if you plan on doing photography. If you're not going to be doing any photography, if you know you're just sitting at home, then I wouldn't worry about if it's HD or not. For today, I'm going to go in with my loose powder. I'm not going to put an excess amount to like bake or anything. That's a different video. I'm going to do a separate video for contour, highlighting, and baking. To set under your eyes, I would use kind of, you know, a small dome brush like this. This is the Morphe E48. I love this brush. This is perfect. Perfect. And the quality of this is much nicer than the other collection that starts with the M. This is the Morphe Elite collection. This is really nice, and it's really inexpensive. e.l.f. has a really nice brush too that looks just like this. But you just want to get a little powder, and you want to really press it into the skin. Now be gentle because it is your under eye area. You don't want to be rough. You could put a little extra powder there just while you're doing your face. I also use that to powder my nose, just because my nose gets really oily, and I do my forehead area and my chin. It just presses in a lot better. And then I use a bigger brush to do the rest of my face. This is the Too Faced Mr. Right brush. It's just a big powder brush. You can use any big powder brush that you might have. One of my favorites is from Target, and it was like $3. It was part of their Up and Up collection. And then once you do your face, you can brush away that extra powder under your eyes and on your nose. So this is how I get my flawless base with my foundation and just under eye concealer. Like I said, I'm going to do a follow-up video for contour, highlight, baking, and all that. So that will be coming too. But this is how I get my flawless base. If you have any requests for other how-to videos in this series, drop down below in the comment section and let me know what you would like to see. And yeah, make sure you subscribe before you leave and give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video.